So hello everyone, welcome to another YouTube video. I'm Mike and welcome. I'm going to talk about something completely different this week, another tool that I've developed. But I just wanted to say I've had a tremendous amount of interest in the IPS toolkit. I'll do some more later on in the week for what the IPS toolkit is and what it's done. I've had several questions that I'll try and answer inside a YouTube video, which I think is important. Some things I need to clarify, some things that maybe didn't come out in the original video. But those of you who have expressed an interest, I'm getting back to as many people as I can. I've had a whole bunch of LinkedIn kind of requests for presentations, trial licenses, etc. We'll try and get to that. Anyway, I want to talk about something completely different this week, and it's another tool that I've developed, and it's a tool that I've developed based on need, based on want. And I'm just going to introduce it here for you, not go into too much detail, but it's my challenge is, how do anybody can train on these specifications and these standards and these processes and these methodologies. If we take the time to study them and actually decipher what each individual specification is doing, what the processes are, etc., and we follow the thread back and we actually take it back to its bare bones, they're not super challenging, they're just time consuming. You really need to understand the connections. I'm doing a paper at the moment on understanding a system doesn't mean you actually understand the purpose of a system or the dynamics of a system. So, and I'm doing a paper on that at the moment, and those of you who know which book I recommended to you to read know where I got the idea for that from. And what I wanted was a tool that not only elevated training to beyond PowerPoint slides, but what I realized is that when I come in and do some training for a client, often I get questions after, oh, we've been asked to do this on the project, we've been asked to do this on the project, we've been asked to do this on the project, and it kind of turns into a pseudo ongoing training support contract. And but what I wanted was that, how do I develop a tool that stays with students for the rest of their careers? They don't need an Ingledew to keep coming in and answering questions, those kind of things. And how can we make TDW scalable, which is, there's only one of me and I'm already taking training bookings into May, June. I'm taking July off because I'm going to go around Europe on my motorbike. So, that's it. I'm major, and I've been called up for jury service. I've never done that before. Super excited. And although I'm told that doesn't mean you're selected, it just means that you've been called up for it. I don't know. I'll report. I'm not allowed to report back, but I would say I'd report back on that. But what I wanted is, I've got decades and decades of training material, and that training material is, I've often forgotten what I've created. And it normally can be Claire will say, I'm sure you've done something like that in the past. You've created, and I'll go and search my archives, and generally I'll find something. I've got a NAS, a network device, that's just got gigabytes of training material, templates, etc. on there. And I needed a tool that I could use, that I could go in and say, hey, I know I've trained on this in the past. What is it? Where is it? How do I access it? And I developed a local AI retrieval engine that would go and look at a library of data, and it would then tell me which files I've got and where they are, etc. So I could then go and look at them and say, oh, that needs modernizing. I could use that. I could send the customer this, etc. So I developed something called Knowledge Studio on the back of that. Now, this is an idea that I've been baking for a very, very, very long time. I've been baking the idea of Knowledge Studio probably about 3-4 years ago at TDW Live. I said, and I've done a piece on, legacy training is dead. Okay, if you just want somebody to come in and rock up and give you PowerPoint training and copy and paste from specifications, that training's dead. You can go to any AI right now and ask it some questions, and it will be able to answer it for you in a pretty... Now, we can't always trust AI. I know I'm just generalizing there. But anyway, I needed a tool, and I said that I wanted to elevate training for my customers. How do I make something? And that's where I've now developed not only the IPS toolkit, which I'm super duper excited about, but a companion tool called Knowledge Studio. Let's look at Knowledge Studio. So here on screen right now, I've opened the TDW Knowledge Studio, and again, this has come out of need. Something that I've wanted. Now, the 3 buttons at the top here: open existing studio, new studio, import studio. Let me tell you what they are very quickly. Open existing studio is essentially a library of studios, knowledge studios, that I've already created, that are, my data is segmented. So I could go into and look at, hey, I'm training on data analytics, and I've got a data analytics folder. I've got something specific on S1000D, 6000T, etc. Or I can get all of an entire collection together and query an entire collection. This is designed to work standalone, so it doesn't need any kind of heavy-hitting databases, because we're using vectorized databases, or vectors, in the background here. So I have an existing studios, of which you can see I've got one. I've just trimmed it down for the purposes of YouTube. I can create my own library, or I can import a studio. What does importing a studio mean? Importing a studio means that I can come in, do some training for you, and you are left at a baseline of knowledge. And I can come home, and invariably on all of my training, I'm always asked a customer specific question. So I might develop a set of slide decks, some examples, or some templates, etc. for that customer. They're bespoke to you. And that means that I can come home, I can create you a Knowledge Studio package, send it back to you, and you give it to all the students that were on the course, and that's with them forever. They can keep that studio with them. Also, if the training material, the baseline training material, changes through updates to the specifications or technology, etc., I can make available, depending on whether we've got a commercial relationship or an agreement, update packages to that training, which means you've already know principles and processes and practices and all those kind of things. You don't need to learn all of that again. What you might need to learn is what are the differences or the deltas between this document, this specification, what's the impact on my project, etc. That's what a studio import can do. I can make available to you updates to a training package. Now, going back to the dashboard here, the digital classroom, those of you who know, and the digital classroom is a true collaboration environment for our courses when we deliver them. My courses when we deliver them. And yeah, I'm not going to go into what that is and why we use that, but it's way more than just connecting to a portal, those kind of things. So if I just go into open and existing, again, I've trimmed this down. I've just made one library available here. If I open this studio, you can see that on the left-hand side here, I've just got this pointing at 3 PDFs, because that's, we're all clever people. We can figure out if this is 1,000 PDFs or 1 PDF. Up in the top left-hand corner here, we have something called personas, and I can tell it what kind of person I am. So here I've got my own personas I use with this tool as well, that I would keep private from this tool. But we can also download personas. So I can go here and go and get extra personas from Spiral Learn. So I might want to say, hey, I'm a training architect, and what kind of data does S1000D produce, or something along those lines, and it will answer contextually for me. on the data set at hand here. So up in the top right hand corner, there's a whole bunch of settings. This is where we would, I'm not going to show it here, where we would configure our language models, our AI models. Now it's really important to say the tool is designed to sit on top of an AI platform, but also it can be just a dumb data store if you're not able to configure a local language model inside your organization. So here you can see I've got these are just three papers that I created for RWS. So if you want more information about these papers, you can go over to their website and have a look at them, but these were quite easy for me to just index and download. So if I go into here and I can say I'm a beginner, what is Supplier Connect? Okay, it's a tool that RWS has created, and what it's doing now is it's using a language model that so what it's now doing is it's reading the papers. So think of Supplier Connect like a digital platform that connects suppliers with prime contractors in a controlled environment. It's designed to streamline communication, improve collaboration, enhance supplier chain. So it's just, from a beginner's perspective, it's just answered for me what Supplier Connect is. Now, if I decided I'm an executive, and what is Supplier Connect? Top points is all I need as an executive. So according to the RWS, supplier onboarding is a structured process for introducing new suppliers, etc. And here you can see that I can now open or look at the actual source itself, and I can see where I'm calling that data from. So, but I could, if I wanted to now, ask it a question on another one. That's it. So what are the evolutions of the IETP? Let's go back to beginner here and just say I am new to the subject. Okay, and what it will do now is it's going through again, looking through the documents, and according to the IETP is no longer just a one-way transactional information delivery tool. And so now what it's doing is it's giving me, rather than having to read all of these papers, which of course we can do, now you can see here I can chat with these particular documents. This is just giving you an idea of what my Knowledge Studio does. Now imagine that where you have your training material in here. I'm not going to tell you how we index and how we make this happen for particular customers and their training needs, but now this can live with you forever. Now what that means is that you're asking it questions, you've trained it on the person you are with your skills and how you like to be talked to, so we can tell it the tone. And so, you know, some of us like to be nice and polite with AI, and it will build this knowledge, the type of questions that you are asking of it. Now, TDW Live last year, I talked about how we can do federated AI. Well, if we wanted to, we can do federated AI data sharing. So if you are asking questions of your training material, wouldn't it be interesting if you federated all of that, and that was fed back to departmental managers or training managers, etc. What are the type of questions that are being asked on this training course? But that's anonymized data. You don't know who's asking that question, so it doesn't point the finger at anyone. It doesn't say Ingledew's thick as, you know, it just says that, you know, Ingledew came in and asked that. It doesn't say about who Ingledew is. It anonymizes it and says somebody asked about the role of the IETP, and maybe 15 people did that, and maybe there's a tutorial there that needs to be produced as well. So there's actually something else I'm working on that will go inside here, and will work more with the digital classroom. And so that we take it to the next level. But I wanted to show you that that's kind of what I'm working on and what I'm doing with the training. How do we elevate the training beyond just being standard basic classroom stuff? Anyway, that's interesting. Like I say, I've shown 3 people this week this tool, and they were pretty impressed with it. Runs on Mac, runs on Windows, and also I'm going to be building a companion mobile app to go with it, so you can ask questions on the go. And but right now I'm just figuring out how and where we store the data for that to happen, because that would imply that we would need a relationship to the database, or where we store the vectors for this. There you go. That's what I'm building to elevate training to the next level. And you know, like I say, just to make it something that learning is just not a fire and forget, old fire and forget methodology. How do we continually evolve our learning? And then, you know, in here, if I ask it a question of a TDW training and there's a video that exists, it will then, in all of the sources, it will say watch the video, and you can watch the video. It will pull that in directly from our learning portal, for example. So yeah, there you go. That's what I'm working on. IPS Toolkit, back to that next week. Show you some more features in there. Super excited with some of the stuff that I've done on that. Let me know whether you like it. I'm releasing a blog on this, talking about why old legacy training and trainers are dying, and not kind of obviously rest in peace. I'm talking about the methodologies are dying, and why training is now being elevated by tools like this. Anyway, hope you like it. Hope you found that useful and interesting. If you did, drop a like, drop a comment. It seems like most of you get in touch with me through LinkedIn, which is absolutely fine. I don't have a problem with that. If you want more information on the TDW Knowledge Studio, drop me a note. Until next week, where we'll talk a little bit more about the IPS Toolkit, show you more stuff that I've done in there, and yeah, speak to you soon. Bye-bye.